Welcome, welcome, welcome in, everyone. Welcome to Care Concierge with Care Patrol, where education is the heart of everything we do. We appreciate you taking time with us today. If you're new to us, please know that we are accredited by the Alabama Board of Social Work and also by the Alabama Board of Nursing. And our accreditation numbers are for social work 0689 and for nursing 1563. Those are our provider numbers. And this is accredited for 1.0 contact hour for nurses and for social workers. In order to get or receive credit, you must do our evaluation after today's session. If you don't do the evaluation, you will not receive credit. If you do the evaluation, you will receive credit and a certificate. And nurses, we will post the hour for you on your website on the ABN. And that evaluation is online through SurveyMonkey. In order to access it, for those of you that like to go ahead and make note of it and aren't looking at your screen where it's posted in the chat room, the link is https:// www.surveymonkey.com/lowercase r/ all uppercase letters with numbers, Z as in zoo, S as in Sam, 5, W, R, 2. That is our evaluation link. It is password protected. And because it's password protected, the Alabama Board of Social Work considers this a live and interactive classroom hour and not a recorded or video hour. That's why we use a password. We give the password at the end, so be sure and listen for it. And thank you again for being here. We're so pleased to have a returning speaker with us today, which is Pamela Strickland of Medicaid Application Processing Services. She's done literally thousands of Medicaid applications, helped thousands of people, and today is going to unveil some case studies for us of some particular cases that may show you ways in which you can work with or through the Medicaid system. We really do encourage discussion and hope you'll join in. We both think your voice adds to ours and adds to the benefit of those on the call or on the video or on the recording. So please do add your comments in the chat room. If you're new to Zoom, the chat is located on the black bar, either at the bottom of your screen or at the top. Click on it and add your voice to ours. And now I'd like to introduce Ms. Strickland and let her know that the floor is hers. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I always enjoy being here and presenting. And I've been doing Medicaid for 19 years, and I don't know how many Medicaid applications I've done. I don't know if it's in the thousands, but I can tell you I've done a bunch. And I love what I do. So today, I've got three different case studies that we're going to look at, and all three are still active. The first case study is an elder abuse case that we are working with, and I think you'll find this one very interesting. The female claimant, the person who is in the nursing home, is 84 years old, and she was a widow, and she has a history of falls. Um, she owns her own home, and she nor her husband were a veteran, so we don't have those veterans benefits to go with her Social Security, which she receives. She has a small savings account and she has some investments. They're limited to about 150,000. And the claimant's son lives with her and still lives in the house. Now, the elder abuse issues that we're seeing is that the son transferred money from the claimant's bank account to his own bank account, which, as you know, for Medicaid reasons, you cannot do. And the son used the claimant's account for personal reasons. He would pay some of his bills from her account. The claimant does work, but apparently he needs he wants to use her money. The claimant, the elderly lady, is paying all utilities on the house. The son does not pay any, so he's living off his mother. How we identified these issues, the claimant gave her son her debit card to go pay a bill for her, and he never returned the debit card. He kept it and he spent money on himself. He used that debit card as if it was his debit card. His name was not on her account in any way, nor was he a signature on the account in any way. So when the claimant got to where she needed to go into a nursing home, the daughter who lives in Tennessee, who is the power of attorney, or the POA as we call it, started gathering resources for her to see what she had and how they could pay the nursing home. And in gathering these assets, she realized what was going on with the brother. So, being a good power of attorney, the first thing that she did was freeze the account and cancel the debit card. Well, the son got a checkbook and went to the bank and actually wrote a check to cash it, and they cashed that check, even though he was not on the account, and two, the account was frozen. So I advised her to completely close the account and to set up an entirely new account for her in Tennessee where she lives and have that money directly deposited into that account. She has now done that, and there is no account that the son has access to. So what we have is the money taken. We have these money transfers and money spent to pay for things for himself that the mother did not approve of, and he had no access to her account to do that. So she has spoken to her brother, and he kind of refuses to go along with her in things. And the problem is, the mother's here in Birmingham in a nursing home, and the son is here. And so the son talks to the mother and tells the mother that the power of attorney, or the POA, is being very mean to him. And so the mother is kind of like, you don't understand him. We don't want any conflict here. So the power of attorney asked me what she should do, and I advised her that she either needed to file a police report for Medicaid reasons and report it to DHR. Well, as things kept going forward, we realized that the son was not going to cooperate with the power of attorney, and that there's a history of violence with the brother or the son. And the family is afraid of the brother. So when speaking to her, she's no one in the family is willing to go up against the brother because of his violence. So after I talked with her, I thought the best thing that I could do was to refer her to an attorney who would be able to lead her into the next steps. She could tell him everything, and the attorney could lead her into the how to talk with the police and how to file with DHR. So the outcome right now is pending. We're in the middle of this case. In fact, I haven't heard back yet if they're going to file a police report and go with DHR. All I know is I'm getting documents and I'm building the Medicaid application. We know there's going to be transfer penalties for the claimant because of the son. It is my advice that she file a police report so Medicaid will have on file that she is aware of this and they are prosecuting the son, or at least reporting it. I think that goes a long way with Medicaid to know that the family is active in working with the police on getting this settled, and it was not approved by the claimant. The claimant does have a history of dementia. She's getting to where she has forgetting things, not remembering some of the things that she did or said. She does not have a diagnosis of dementia, though. Her history is that of falling and hurting herself. So we have to, and when I say hurting herself, when she falls, of course, she's broken ribs and things of that nature, not self-harm. So for right now, we're hoping for a favorable outcome for the claimant, and I can update this at a later date. For right now, we're in the middle of this case. And unfortunately, it's going to be a battle for the family, I do believe. Any questions about this case?
I have one while others are thinking. So the they'll still be bound for this penalty, even though they're involving the police. Is that correct?
Well, the transfer penalty is sometimes negated by the fact that we have got the police involved, and sometimes if DHR gets involved, there is no transfer penalty because we're pursuing this.
Gotcha.
Um, but for that to happen, they have to pursue it, not just file a report. They have to get the detectives involved to interview the son, to interview the mother, and there has to be a case built. Whether they prosecute them in a court of law is totally different. That Medicaid just has to see that the family is pursuing this, and they have taken the avenue away from the son of being able to do more harm. So they've closed that off to him. So that goes along with the Medicaid too.
Okay. Ms. Jamie Owens, I may not be Ms., maybe Mr. Do Medicaid members each have a Medicaid case manager to work with them to help resolve coverage and care issues?
Yeah, each if they're in a nursing home, which is what I do, is nursing home Medicaid, there are nursing home caseworkers that are assigned. So one nursing home may have two caseworkers assigned to it, and they handle every case for that nursing home. Individuals have the same thing. They have a caseworker that follows their case from the beginning all the way through the end. And I work with those caseworkers. So if we're working with a nursing home and they have a caseworker, I'm working with that caseworker from the very beginning when we file all the way through completion, and that continues even through yearly reviews. Because once a client becomes my client, they're my client for the rest of their life as long as they're on Medicaid. So I do all yearly reviews, and also I get to know the caseworkers quite well. And the caseworkers hear the entire story, and then they take it to their supervisors, and sometimes the supervisors take it to the legal department of Medicaid. And the legal department has to give up an opinion, and that's how they judge what's going to happen as far as a legal transfer.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, you
Mhm.
wouldn't happen to know how many cases do each of those persons have that are case managers?
I couldn't tell you. It's a heavy caseload.
That's my question. Yeah.
It's a heavy caseload. I mean, there may be one Medicaid worker who maybe has two or three nursing homes, and then they have individual Medicaid too.
Hmm.
They may do nursing home, and they may also do child. They may do waivers. We don't know. So
Right.
it's a hard workload. I mean, I respect all the caseworkers for Medicaid. They do a great job.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't
is any more?
know more than I see.
Okay. The second case is an ongoing case, and it's a claimant with a disabled son. So this claimant is 95-year-old female with a history of falling and dementia. The claimant is not mentally competent, was placed in a nursing home just this month, like last week. But the claimant was hospitalized 7 different times since January of this year with a history of falling. She has hallucinations and she does self-harm because she thinks people are coming at her. So she is definitely in a place where she needs to be. She owns a home and she has a son on permanent disability. And she really doesn't have any other assets except for her home. The Medicaid planning issues is the claimant has had her son taking care of her, and he has her POA. He's her power of attorney. So his name is on her checking and savings account. It's joint with him. And excuse me, the son took a HELOC on his home. He owns a separate home. And so to help care for his mother, he took a home equity line of credit, HELOC loan out on his home. And out of those funds, he put $19,000 of his money into her account to help care for her. The claimant only gets Social Security. And so there were a lot of expenses that she needed that she could not pay for on her own. And he is only on Social Security. So Social Security disability. So he really didn't have the money. So he took this HELOC loan. So the son used the mother's account to help pay some of his bills. He thought that was proper since he put money in the account. And there's an issue with that. That has to be proven. And actually, he cannot pay for his bills out of his mother's account. So we're dealing with that. We've got proof of the HELOC loan deposit. So the next issue is the son wants to transfer the claimant's home into his name since he is permanently disabled. He is not mentally incapacitated. He's 100% competent, but his disability is more of it's not schizophrenia, but he's on medicine, but he cannot work, and so he's that type of disabled. So the son owns his own home, and he doesn't have a mortgage. His mortgage was paid off by the father years ago. So the issue is the son wants to sell the mother's home and use those proceeds to supplement his income to live on and to help supplement her income. But I explained to him that her income would go to the nursing home less than $30 a month that she gets to keep. Well, through the years, she has supplemented his income. So he can't live without some help from her. And even though I have told him that he cannot do that now, he continues to take money from her. So we're going through that. There's some issues there that we're working through, and this is a hard case because the son goes on to Google and he Googles all of these questions about Medicaid, and he's come up with transfer of the home to a disabled son. And he sent me all of this information saying, we can do this. I can get the home. And I'm like, you don't understand. You don't live with your mother. Disabled children normally live with the parents. And yes, the home can be transferred to that son or that daughter that lives with the parents. He owns his own home. So I have got calls into a supervisor to say, can this be done? Can he actually transfer this home to his own name as a disabled child, even though he doesn't live with her and he owns his own home? I've not got an answer back. So we're not sure if that's going to happen. He is insistent that I do this, but I do not, I'm hired to do my job the right way. And just because you insist that I do something doesn't mean I'm going to do it. It means I follow rules and I follow the law. So even though he's looked this up and it says, yes, you can do this, I don't think there's an clear understanding that most of the time when this is done, it is the dependent child that lives with the parents. So we're working through that. Medicaid request, it's going to be the same as if anything else. They're going to request all of the checking account records. So they're going to see all of these transfers. And so we have to back those transfers up. We can certainly deduct that from the HELOC loan that he put into her account to help pay bills. We can do that, but he has asked that she pay that money back to him. And I said, well, she can't pay it all back because you've used a portion of that money. We're working through that. This is a more difficult case, and I'm having to push back a little bit more than I normally do with this client. They're going to want all the savings account records. There really aren't many investment account records. There's just one. So that's not going to be an issue. There's an old CD that was cashed out years ago, but it is in the 5-year look back. The bank has no records because it was cashed out in 21. So that's going to be an issue. I told him that we're going to need proof of all of the care expenses that he has paid for her. Um, because that's something that he's going to have to prove for this money. And the reason why he took money from her for his expenses. There's been 7 hospital stays. So we're going to need copies of those hospital records and proof of those charges, which he's not paid all of them yet. Of course, you got prescription invoices, and then all we got to have receipts and proof of those monies moved from the claimant's account to his account and why. Those could be charged as illegal transfers, even though he put that money into her account. So the son is willing to supply and has supplied the bank statements that has proved that he put that money into her account. I've got evidence of that. He did that. The son has supplied his disability letter. He is 100% disabled, and I have proof of that. Um, the son has had to have help from the claimant because he doesn't make enough money to pay his bills. Unfortunately, that cannot happen anymore. And I'm trying to get that. That's why he wants the home to sell to supplement his income. And the claimant has helped her son for many years. I mean, we're talking 20 years. She has helped her son. So we're kind of at a place to where we must either do one of two things. We must either have an affirmative answer that we can transfer that home to his name, or we cannot. That's number one. If we can transfer the home, we must get permission from Medicaid. That's it. Then we have to have an elder law attorney that must draft the quitclaim deed. That quitclaim deed must be recorded in the Office of Judge of Probate for the county before we can file Medicaid. And then if this does not happen, I have already got a realtor talking with him about selling the home to put the money in the Alabama Family Trust for her care. Now, he's against that because he needs the money to live on. But Medicaid is not, and if you've dealt with Medicaid, you know this. Medicaid is not concerned about those who are dependents as much as they are concerned about the money of the claimant and what we do with that money. So just because he is disabled and he's on SSI, um, they're not going to grant him automatically the home. And until I get that permission, I'm not moving forward with that. I got 3 overnights from him in a row with all of the language he wants me to put in the quitclaim deed and all of that. And I finally had to tell him, stop. Just stop. You don't need to spend money for overnight packages for me. You don't need to tell me how to word a quitclaim deed. You don't need to tell me how to do my job. So I don't usually push back like that, but this is something that I'm not moving forward with until I get the okay from Medicaid itself. Because if we do this and it's a mistake, we just have to undo it. And that's much harder because the son could refuse. And then we got this huge transfer penalty. And she will not qualify for Medicaid and she has to go back home. Where's she going to? Her home has been sold to him. And it's been given to him and he sold it. So we have to think of the big picture here. And that's what I'm trying to do. So that is, excuse me, I've got a head cold. I apologize for coughing. So that is that case, and that's pending case. We're in the middle of this case, and I am just not sure. I'm just not sure about this one. And this is one that I've never had to face before. I've had many, many cases when we have had a dependent child in the home, and it's never been an issue with transferring the home to that child, and that child has kept that home and is living in that home now. But this one is not in the home. He has his own home that is paid for. So that's the issue. Does anybody have any questions or any comments about that?
Wesleyan Benton says, Pamela, can the disabled son rent out his mother's home and use that passive income to help with her expenses? Also, what happens if he sells his home and moves into his mother's home?
I've asked
Another
him
way
that.
could be if he sells his home, may give him some funds to help pay for his bills.
We have talked about that. We that was my okay. First question. No, if you rent the home out, that money belongs to the nursing home. That's part of the home nursing because that's considered income. So that would come in and go to the nursing home as payment. It does not go to the disabled son. So you can't rent it out. Well, you could rent it out, but it's income and it goes to the nursing home. So what's the point? Second point, yes, we talked about him selling his home and moving into that home. He's not willing to do it because that home is paid for. I said, well, is your mother's home paid for? Yes. I don't get this. He's just not willing to sell his home.
Are you sure he's
And I
competent?
think there's just some issues there. Um, so it would be if he sold his home and moved into his mother's home, we could say that the disabled son lives there, but he has to live there at least a year before we can say that we could transfer that. I mean, he's got to have some time there. He can't move in one day and say, okay, I live in the home, transfer the deed. That's not how Medicaid works. We have to prove he's lived there. In the past case that I had, this young man, this wonderful young man, was born with Down syndrome, and he lives with his parents. Has lived with his parents all of his life. He takes the bus to Walmart each day to work. He stocks shelves for Walmart, and he has done that for 20 years. And then he comes home. He knows how to cook his own dinner and goes to sleep. And then he gets up in the morning, gets dressed, and he goes to Walmart again. So when both parents got put into a nursing home, both parents were married for 65 years. They died within a week of each other. I mean, it was just, you can't make this up. And the son, you know, in the will, the house was left to the son, and we actually did a quick claim deed to quick claim it to the son, and he lives there now. And he has meals at home. They bring him meals. His brother checks on him 3 or 4 times a week. His brother's a sheriff, and so he's got plenty of people to care for him. And so that was a totally different situation, but that's what I'm used to dealing with. So it's a great idea to rent the home out and use that money, but Medicaid says no. That money goes to the nursing home. It's a source of income. So, any other
We,
questions?
yeah, me.
Mhm.
Will you refresh me on what a quit claim deed is?
Yeah, a quitclaim deed is a it's a deed in the state of Alabama where a married couple can quit claim their right to their home to their spouse. They
Okay,
say, I quit owning my portion of my home and I give all of my 50% portion to my spouse. And that's legal in the state of Alabama for Medicaid purposes. It's also legal to do for a disabled child. Both parents can do that. Or they can just deed the house to them. They don't have to quit claim it. They can totally deed the house to their disabled son. They can do a life estate to the son. The son can live there until he dies. After, everything. Those are the things they can do. So they just quit claiming their right to that portion of ownership in their home. It's much easier than doing a warranty deed. Well, you have to do title search and you have to have all of that done.
okay.
So that's what a quit claim deed is. Not everyone does a quit claim. I've had many attorneys call me and say, "What the heck did my client just ask me for?" I said, "Oh, they really should have gone to an elder law attorney." And I've explained it to them, and I've even sent them one for them to look at, and they were not comfortable in doing it. So they had to go to an elder law attorney, and because they understand this process and they've worked with Medicaid.
Gotcha.
So that's what that is.
Jordan Fowler says on the previous case study, at what point in the process is the penalty applied, and when does the process restart after the penalty period?
Okay. Um, the penalty period will start if we're talking about the last case where the son has spent those monies. Um, when we file and it goes through the process, they would say, okay, let's say he took $62,000. Well, then let's make it easy, $68,000. He took $68,000. So that's going to be the transfer penalty. The divisor for the state of Alabama for 2026 is $6,800 per month of a penalty divisor. So they would divide the 68,000 by the 6,800, which is 10 months. So the penalty would be 10 months of private pay for the family at $11,000 per month for the nursing home. And then Medicaid would pick it up. Your choices are bring the mother home for 10 months after the penalty month runs and then take her back. Um, so that is how that works. It starts at the decision date of Medicaid approval. They'll say that your Medicaid is approved, but with a penalty of $68,000. And we will pick this up after that penalty is paid in 10 months. So that's how that works. And a lot of families just can't afford that. They can't, this family certainly cannot afford to pay $10,000 or $11,000 per month for their mother. It's just not something they could do. So that's why you have to show proof that you are filing a case with the police and understanding that this was elder abuse, financial elder abuse, which they take very seriously. Any others?
No other questions.
Okay, let's go to our.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do
Go. Mhm.
have one. Let me see if I can locate it here. I'm trying to find the person who sent it. Do they have to prove they have spent the penalty money if they take them home?
Oh yeah. What no what they have to do is record the date that the person came home and keep them there for the penalty amount. And the entire time we're doing this, I'm still in touch with Medicaid, letting them know that during this penalty period, they're at home and they're paying for care. The family's paying for care or just caring for them themselves. And when we intend to bring them back to the nursing home, we have to establish that before they take them home. So Medicaid knows. Or they can leave them in private pay, which is very difficult. But we have had people take their parent home and care for them and take them back to another nursing home or to a nursing home after the 10-month period. And Medicaid has then said, okay, she's now can be approved. And at that point, we issue the face sheet from the nursing home saying that they are now in a nursing home. They send the face sheet over. They fill out their form that they need to fill out, and then Medicaid will kick in at that point.
But they have to admit first under private pay and then withdraw to home discharge.
Oh, they can stay under private pay, or they can just be discharged and come home.
Gotcha. So the
Yeah.
penalty is in consecutive months, not in
Yes.
dollars.
It's in consecutive. That's how they break it down. That they'll say, we cannot start paying this until February of 2027 or whatever the penalty is. I've had hundreds of thousands of dollars in penalty. In fact, I have a new case study that they haven't hired me yet. They're coming in next week. But there's a $200,000 penalty amount because the house was sold for $200,000 below fair market value.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. So they want to hire me. They want me to see what I can do. And I've told them, I just don't think we're going to get this one approved at all. But they are insistent that I try. So, um, you know, eh, things happen. And this was something that happened that the family didn't know about. It was sold to those we buy homes kind of place. And so, what can I do? But anyway, I just say that to say that there are many people out there with these types of penalties. Sometimes the family can self-pay. They can private pay. They have the money to do that. This family cannot. They would have to bring her home.
Jordan Fowler, who asked the last question, followed up with, does time spent in the hospital count towards the penalty period?
Time in the hospital, in the state of Alabama, you must be institutionalized 30 days before we can even file Medicaid. So that counts toward the initial filing. So if they're in the hospital and they go from the hospital to rehab and from rehab to the nursing home, and let's say they were in the hospital for 3 weeks, then they go to rehab for a couple of weeks. They've met their 30 days. We can file Medicaid after that. When they can go in Medicaid pending to the nursing home. And normally, Medicaid goes back to the institutionalizing date um, of the person, and they pay from there forward. So that date is considered in the penalty period. If there is an issue with them being over $2,000 for a month, and then that month is not considered in the penalty period. You've got to be 2,000 or below. I usually recommend $1,500 in the account to make sure you don't go over the 2,000 because they will not approve that a month. I've had letters that say you are approved from January through July. You're not approved for August. You're approved from September forward because that month of August they had $2,020 in that account. So we have to be very careful with that.
And I'll apologize. Phyllis Smith asked the prior question, then Jordan Fowler asked the follow-up.
Okay.
And that's it for questions.
Okay. This last study here is one that I've never had before. It was a self-filing claimant, and the only thing that means is the claimant wanted me to file for her. So there's an 85-year-old female claimant, and she's widowed, doesn't have a spouse. The history of claimant is that she has a history of falling. The claimant was completely competent when we talked, and she will not appoint a power of attorney because she wants to handle her own affairs. So no power of attorney. She self-admitted to a nursing home. This is so odd. So what happened was the claimant's son and daughter-in-law contacted me, and he's a sheriff, and he called me and said, "I need you to help my mom. She fell. They were at work, both work, and couldn't get to the phone. And so by the time he got home, she had been on the floor several hours. She had broken some ribs. She also had a broken hip. So, of course, she was rushed to the hospital. And the claimant said, I don't want to be a burden to you anymore. Just send me to a nursing home. They tried their best to talk her into staying because as you'll see in a moment, she had sold her mobile home years ago and moved in with them, and they had built onto their home for her. So she had a great place to live, but she felt like she was being a burden. So she said, please place me in a nursing home so you don't have to go through this. Well, with no power of attorney, the son, being a sheriff, asked me about guardianship. I explained to them that that would give you the appointment over her body, which means that you can make those decisions for her about placing her in a nursing home, and you can make healthcare decisions for her. The guardian can make all decisions related to life decisions for the claimant. But I said, you have to be realistic about this. They're not going to give you guardianship over her if she is totally competent. So we did not go the guardianship route at all because she said, no, I'm going to handle everything on my own, which she did. So we had to have evidence of the mobile home cell, which we had. We had to have a letter from physician stating that she was in sound mind because how many people say, please put me in a nursing home? It doesn't happen. So we had to have a letter that said she was in sound mind, and she was. And we had to have an asset listing, which was really not much. She did have some CDs that were cashed in, and she cashed in those CDs to help build on to the son's house to make a place for her. Totally legal. You can do that. It's not an issue. So we also supplied 6 months of current bank statements. Um, on July the 18th, she took her last breath. She just died in her sleep. Totally unexpected. So Medicaid is in line to approve her this month. I've already talked with a Medicaid worker. And so they're going to go back for the 30. She was actually there in the nursing home for over 90 days. She had asked to go in, but we didn't file Medicaid for her until last June, 1st of July. but they're going to go back and to approve when she went into the nursing home. So this is the first time we've had um, a person who self said, I want to go to a nursing home. And so even Medicaid called me and said, you sure this woman is of sound mind? I said, you got the letter. She's of totally sound mind. So we right now are waiting. I talked with Medicaid on last Friday, and they're waiting for a couple of bank pings to come back. And then they said, yeah, we'll approve her as long as we get those bank pings back. So that's what we're waiting on with her. I hope I have others like this. She was a wonderful lady, and she just never. She said, as long as I have a sound mind, I'm doing everything on my own, and that's what she did. So all back portions of the nursing home expenses will be paid and by Medicaid. And so now we're waiting on the approval to come through. And those are my three cases for this time. I'm sorry, it's a little short on time, but those are the three cases that I'm working on that are current.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
We'll see if anyone has questions of a general nature about a Medicaid application, perhaps one that you're working on yourself,
Hmm.
for which you'd like some advice, or perhaps your own family. You have a question about something you may want to ask. As I said earlier, we appreciate when you are on the line with us, and we appreciate what you add to the conversation. Anything else you're working on that comes to
Well,
mind?
to go back to the case that I'm getting next week at the $200,000 um excuse me, transfer penalty. They have pictures of the home, and they actually have um, a statement from the people who bought the home. And they have very detailed pictures of the home. I'm not sure if those pictures are going to be enough. Even when I spoke to a realtor friend of mine who said they would never discount a house that much. I mean, there's just, in the neighborhood it was in, it would have sold for $300,000. I think they sold it for 152.
Oh,
So I am very concerned about that case, and I've tried to tell them not to hire me, not to spend the money on me, to allow, just don't do it. But the husband even called me, the husband of the lady who called me. This is her mother, his mother, and he has called and said, please let us come talk to you. We want you to do anything you can do. So I'm very concerned about that one. Um, Another case that I'm working on that it's got a little hitch to it is I've got a family whose mother is demented and is very combative. Nursing homes don't want to take her because she is combative. So I have requested that she go to the Mary Harper Center. I don't know if you know about the Mary Harper Center. It's a fantastic place in Tuscaloosa where they work with nothing but 65 and older, those suffering from any kind of mental incapacity, really. I have got clients there who are very combative with self-harm, and it's amazing what they do for them. And after they go to Mary Harper Center, normally they can get discharged to a nursing home. So those are the two cases that are interesting that I'm working on now. To go to the Mary Harper Center, you have to be committed either from the state or from a Jefferson County Health or from a court saying she needs to be committed. So those are the two ways to get into Mary Harper Center. And Mary Harper Center is $1,000 a day. So they do accept Medicaid. But if you're committed if the court says you've got to go, well, then the state pays that. If your Jefferson County says you've got to go, well, then they look to the family, and normally the family would then come to me for Medicaid because Medicaid will pay for Mary Harper Center. So those are the two cases that are upcoming that will be very interesting in the long run.
yeah, I look forward to that. Phyllis Smith asked, what's the Medicaid eligibility amount?
When you say eligibility amount, how much, what are their resource amount? And that's $2,000. Their total resources cannot be more than $2,000 if it's a single person. That person can own a home, and you have to put on the Medicaid application intent to return home. But there has to be somebody taking care of that home and paying the taxes, cutting the grass, paying the power, and all of that. They don't want the house sitting empty, but most of the time it does. The family takes care of it. If it's a married couple, it's the same for the claimant. $2,000 in resources. They can in the bank account for the claimant. The the spouse can have up to $166,000 in their name. So what we have to do is add all of the resources together, divide it by two because it's a married couple, give the half to the spouse, the other spouse, the claimant. That money will be placed into the Alabama Family Trust for their care. And they can have, I usually tell them to separate their bank accounts. So the claimant has his own bank account, and you keep about $1,500 in there. And the spouse can keep up to $166,000 for this year in their overall account. The income limit is 2689 for 2026. That means that the claimant cannot make more than that. But if they do, it's a simple case of opening a qualified income trust for that person. His Social Security would deposit it into that, and therefore Medicaid doesn't look at that as an overage because the QIT, that fund, actually belongs to Medicaid once this person passes away. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And we have more questions.
Mhm.
Dana Adams says or asks, what is the estimated wait time for application approval or denial?
Well, Dana, that's a great question. It really depends. Normally, it's supposed to be within 60 days approval. That's what it's supposed to be. Never is. Um, Normally, when I file in any county, mostly Jefferson County is a bit longer, but any other county I file in within anywhere in the state of Alabama, you first thing you have to have is a conference call with the Medicaid worker going over the application, and then you get a 30-day letter. That 30-day letter is called a checklist. I call it an RFI, request for information. And we have to answer that letter with all the questions they have with evidence. And we turn that letter back in with the evidence. That's 30 days there. So you're probably looking at 45 days to that point because usually it takes them 15 days to get the conference call going to get the letter to me. So we're talking probably 40 to 45 days there. And then we answer that 30-day letter. We can get another 30-day letter with more questions. I've had up to three 30-day letters. So you're talking 60 to 90 days before we even get a decision. I've had it up to a year before I got a decision. But they went all the way back to the filing date because it was just, it took that long to get all the information and to get it for them to make a decision. So normally I usually get a decision within 90 days, but I've had it 4, 5, 6 months.
Uh, Jamie Owen asked, if a Medicaid member wants to appeal their coverage to include Medicaid transportation benefits, what does the appeal process look like?
It's a great question. I don't know that because I don't do that. I don't do appeals. Attorneys do appeals. So I cannot help you there. I can say that if you're talking QMB benefits, they have to meet a very strict threshold for that because Medicaid is hospitalization, benefits and doctor's benefits. And so if they're on Medicaid, they pretty much have those benefits. If you're talking QMB benefits, that's a totally separate thing that Medicaid decides on their own. It's very strict.
What is QMB?
QMB is it's almost like a Type B yeah, insurance.
Okay,
Yeah, they cover some prescriptions that regular Medicaid does not cover.
got you.
And some people, excuse
BadNet.
me, some people just have QMB and they don't have Medicaid.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's the type of thing. You can get QMB and not have Medicaid, but just because you don't have enough money to pay for your prescriptions.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Madnet Tyus says, my brother is in the nursing home under Medicaid and
Mhm.
had an old car that he recently sold for $500.
Mhm.
Does that need to be reported to Medicaid?
Where did that money go? Did it go into his account?
She doesn't say. One would assume.
Okay, let's say, well, first of all, yeah, you have to report it. You have to give a Kelly Blue Book value on the car. If it's sold for under fair market value by Kelly Blue Book, there's going to be a penalty, even if the car is old.
A
The
shame.
money
I
should go
thought
into his
cars
account.
didn't count.
Oh no, cars count if you sell them. Sure.
Okay.
Now, let's put it this way. If this a married couple, she gets to keep a car. His car has to be sold for fair market value. If it's an individual, he can have a car if that car is used for his care and getting, traveling, getting his laundry, things of that nature. If that car sells, it has to sell for fair market value.
Interesting. Let's see. Rosetta Ingram says, I work at Mary Stark Harper Center.
Yeah.
I can't see the, I'm sorry. I'm so bad with this. Oh, she just says, I work at Mary Stark Harper Center. How does Medicaid determine how much each person receives each month?
That's a great question. And that is dependent upon a negotiated amount that Medicaid has with each individual nursing home. And I think that's part of the federal funding that Alabama gets, but I'm not sure. But they have a pre-negotiated rate, and I'm sure it's the same with Mary Harper Center. And let me just say thank you for working at Mary Harper Center. Thank you for what you do. I have the highest regard for Mary Harper Center. You guys are wonderful. So thank you so much for working there and for what you do with these elderly patients.
I agree. Ashton Strickland says, I work with hospice in the home mostly. I know we're talking about Medicaid room and board, but let me see if I can see the rest of it. What about, but once a patient is accepted on a Medicaid waiver program,
Mhm.
why does it take so long to actually get the services?
Well, first of all, in the state of Alabama, I can only speak to the state of Alabama. There are a couple of waivers out there you can get, and it's a long process. On the living at home waiver called an LAH waiver, there are last I checked, there were 769 spots available for an LAH waiver. Thousands are on the list. So that's a waiver that very rare do you get it. The other types of waivers at home, it is just a case by case basis. And do they have money to fund that waiver? Have they run out of money to fund that waiver? Do they have the workers to come out and work in that waiver relationship? So those are questions for Medicaid. I have people who have been on the waiver and we have transitioned them into room and board at a nursing home. But you're right, it takes a long time and it's very frustrating. And if there's anyone out there listening that do these types of waivers, I wish you would explain them, you know, to me. I mean, I would be willing to call you and do it, and you do a seminar to me on waivers because I've had so many different stories, and that's not something that I've done. But I've had people call me to do them, and I'd love to do them, but I just don't understand them.
We've had a presenter who worked with Medicaid waiver, and that's on YouTube if you want to see it.
Certainly.
Ashton Strickland says, I'm in Alabama, and the issue is usually staffing.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And so we've hit nearly an hour. Thank you so much, Ms. Strickland. I always appreciate when you're here, and I know our participants do as well. Our evaluation link, again, for those of you that may not have caught it earlier, and you must do the evaluation to receive credit and a certificate. The evaluation link is https:// www.surveymonkey.com/lowercase r/ all uppercase letters with numbers Z as in zoo, S as in Sam, 5 W R 2. That's our link, and our password, all caps, is MAPS, MAPS, Medicaid Application Processing Services. That is the company that Ms. Strickland owns and operates from, and that's our password, capital M, capital A, capital P, capital S, MAPS. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Ms. Strickland, as
Thank you.
always, and we look forward to having you back in the future and hearing more from the world of Medicaid applications.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, join us again on Tuesday, August 11th, when we'll have someone, Karen Morse, present on Medicare Advantage plans. So I know there are
Hmm.
lots of questions about Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage plans will be our topic on August 11th, a Tuesday. You can find that on our website. Just go to carepatrol.com, click on your local advisor. I'll pop up, scroll down the page and register or be added to our email list. Do join us again. Thank you and have a great few weeks.